Are you tired of dealing with entitled women who think the world revolves around them? Does their arrogant behavior make your blood boil? You're not alone. Rudeness has become an epidemic, and women with inflated egos are some of the worst offenders. But what if I told you there's a way to shut down the toxic superiority in just 5 simple steps? Imagine having the power to deflate an arrogant woman's excessive sense of self-importance with ease. We've all encountered these types. Women who believe the rules don't apply to them and who treat others as inferior simply for existing in their presence. Their egos have grown so massive, so out of control, that they've become blinded to their own horrible behavior. But you don't have to endure it any longer. In this video, I'll hand you the psychological tools to bring their egos crashing back down to earth. Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll be armed with the knowledge to reclaim your dignity and shatter those toxic egos for good. Let's dive into the 5 key steps to deflate an arrogant, rude woman's ego. Are you sick of arrogant attitudes and disrespect from entitled women who think the world revolves around them? If arrogant behavior makes your blood boil, you're not alone. Rudeness is an epidemic, and rude women with inflated egos are some of the worst offenders. But what if I told you there's a way to shut down the toxic superiority in just 5 simple steps? We've all encountered the type. Women who act like the rules don't apply to them, who treat others as inferior simply for existing in their presence. Their egos have grown so massive, so out of control, that they've become blinded to their own horrible behavior. But you don't have to take it lying down any longer. Keep watching because this video will hand you the psychological tools to deflate an arrogant woman's excessive sense of self-importance. These are the 5 key steps to bring an arrogant, rude woman's ego back down to earth. 1. Avoid fueling her validation. You know the type. Everything has to be about celebrating her and putting her on a pedestal. One of the biggest ego boosters for rude women is the constant stream of attention and validation they demand from others. They require that people crawl over them, put them on a podium, and make them the center of every interaction. Giving them this validation only feeds their sense of superiority. The first step to deflating their overblown ego is to simply deprive them of this fuel. Don't ask them excessive questions about themselves or their accomplishments and opinions. Don't compliment their looks or possessions unnecessarily. Stay polite and civil, but keep the conversation focused on neutral topics that give them no opportunity to bask in glory. An arrogant person will initially be taken aback that you aren't worshipping at the altar of their ego as they expect. This perceived slight will immediately begin to chip away at their grand self-image. Additionally, never appear impressed, no matter how much they brag or name drop. Maintain an unfazed, unimpressed demeanor. To a rude, self-obsessed woman, having her ego stroked is like oxygen. By depriving her of that oxygen through strategically withholding attention and praise, the first tiny cracks begin to form in the illusion she's constructed around her importance. 2. Refuse to be subordinate to her self-appointed authority. Arrogant, rude women love having subordinates to command and belittle. It feeds their superiority complex and shelters their fragile ego from ever being challenged. They expect deference, and the second key step to shattering their ego is to utterly refuse to treat them as your superior in any way. This doesn't mean being openly combative or rude yourself. It simply means maintaining a tone of polite but casual indifference, never allowing them to appoint themselves your judge or ruler. Speak to them as you would speak to any equal, never hedging or tiptoeing around their ego with submissive language. If they try to assert dominance through condescending remarks or behavior, refuse to capitulate. Dismiss any illegitimate attempts to control or chastise you with light-hearted deflection or a simple, "I'm not really concerned with your opinion on that." By consistently positioning yourself as their equal, or subtly implying you may even be their superior, you undermine one of the key pillars allowing their ego to maintain its inflated size, the belief that they can freely bully or dominate anyone they wish. Each instance of you declining to submit to their self-appointed authority chips away further at their egotistical illusion. For example, you're chatting with Rhonda in a group when suddenly she rolls her eyes and chides, "God, why do you even bother giving your opinion when you clearly know nothing about this?" Do not submit. Look her dead in the eye and breezily reply, "I'm not really concerned about your judgment on that, Rhonda." Then smoothly continue your point to the others. Shut her dominance play down without getting emotional or making it a fight. Every time you meet her attempted belittling with a poised refusal to be subordinate, a little more wind gets let out of her ego's sails. 3. Tease and mock her absurd self-importance. While outright insults or heated arguments should be avoided, Judicious light teasing or playful mockery can work wonders to shatter an arrogant woman's sense of untouchability. Rude, egotistical people often can dish it out but can't take even the slightest playful roasting themselves. Their egos are far too fragile beneath those grandiose exteriors. If she attempts a snide remark or subtle put down, respond with sly wit rather than anger. Maybe raise an eyebrow and cheekily reply, "Well, aren't you just a charming princess today?" Or, "Oh, I'm sure the admiration of us peasants must be so tough for you to bear." The more you can inspire that briefest flash of self-consciousness or uncertainty in her, the more you erode her ego's foundations. Dishing out a taste of her own arrogant mocking behavior puts her instantly on the defensive in a way rude people can't handle. Each sly tease or hair ruffle further shatters the delusion she's constructing around her superiority. 4. Stay unapologetically self-assured. No matter how loud, brash, or outrageous the rude woman's attempts to assert dominance, you must never allow her arrogance to actually diminish your sense of self-worth or equal standing. Responding to her ego trips with meekness, anger, or flustered justification only plays into her self-serving narrative that she has the authority to unsettle or belittle you. Instead, nurture a core of unshakable self-possession and confidence in yourself that her ego games cannot penetrate. When she attempts to bait you into losing your cool or feeling self-conscious, remain unperturbed with the quiet self-assurance of someone secure in their own value. If she tries turning up the condescension, simply remain poised and let her bombastic imperiousness roll off your back without ruffling you. The more she finds it impossible to break through your self-assured calm and visibly rattle you, the more impotent her attempts to demean you become. Eventually, she'll realize her arrogance no longer gives her power over you or your self-image, which in turn dramatically undercuts the very purpose and motivation behind her insufferable behavior. Your unwavering self-confidence shatters her ego by refusing to grant it any legitimacy. 5. When necessary, directly check and challenge delusions of grandeur. While the above steps may be enough to steadily deflate and disillusion most rude, arrogant personalities over time, occasionally you may need to take a more forthright approach. Particularly stubborn cases of egomania, where the person's disconnect from reality is severe, may require you to burst their self-importance bubble completely with frank truth. This involves calmly but bluntly questioning the validity of whatever insane overestimation of their own worth or abilities they're operating under. If they claim to be uniquely intelligent or accomplished, ask them to substantiate it and break down exactly what real-world achievements they can point to that would grant such superiority. If they condescendingly dismiss those around them as unimpressive nobodies, inquire as to what precise credentials or accolades they can produce that would make them qualified to judge. Dismantle their imaginary accomplishments and qualifications. Ruthlessly dig holes in whatever delusions of grandeur they're clinging to. Eventually, with no defensible ground left to stand on, the hollow arrogance starts to crumble completely in the face of your relentless demands for legitimacy. When you obliterate the final remnants of their pretense to authority or elevation over others, the desperate need to project an egotistical persona gets hopelessly shattered as well. With no credible basis remaining to claim importance or superiority, the rude, egotistical behavior finally disintegrates too. For example, arrogant Rhonda is loudly proclaiming to the group how any idiot could see she's the most capable, intelligent person in the room and anyone who disagrees is jealous. After she pauses, waiting for agreement, you arch an eyebrow and say, "That's quite an extraordinary claim to make about yourself, Rhonda. What advanced degrees or distinguished awards make you qualified to declare your own high superiority over everyone here?" Precisely. Arrogant, rude women with overstuffed egos may seem unshakably self-obsessed, but their sense of superiority is often a fragile illusion, a house of cards protecting an intensely fragile self-image. Follow the steps of starving them of ego validation, refusing to be subordinate to their self-appointed authority, using teasing humor to mock their self-importance, and staying unshakably grounded in your own self-assurance. For the most stubbornly delusional cases, calmly but openly demand tangible proof for their absurd claims to superiority. With time and persistence, their delusions of grandeur crumble to reveal their rudeness as the hollow, insecure ego defense mechanism it always was. Reclaim your dignity and shatter those toxic egos for good. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe this video.